No one expected first contact to happen on a forgotten mining outpost at the edge of mapped space. Least of all Elias Wren. He stood at the observation window of Station Halcyon 9, staring at the velvet darkness beyond the reinforced glass. A pale star glowed in the distance. Below it, the asteroid field glittered like shards of broken silver. The station hummed softly, life support, reactors, drilling arms, all the sounds of human industry scratching a living from the void. Halcyon 9 had been built to harvest rare isotopes from the asteroids. It was supposed to be boring, quiet, safe, so far from civilization that even pirates avoided it, which was exactly why Elias took the contract. He wanted peace. He wanted distance. He wanted to forget the war he'd fought in before the Frontier Accords. He didn't get what he wanted. A shrill alarm split the air. Elias spun. Red lights flashed across the corridor. Automated announcements blared. Unknown vessel detected. Trajectory intersecting station perimeter. No response to hails. Unknown vessel. Not pirate, pirates answered. They bragged. They threatened. They demanded surrender. This thing said nothing. Elias's stomach tightened. He sprinted down the corridor toward the command center. Crew members poured from side halls, some still half asleep, others clutching handheld scanners. The station commander, Director Han, stood rigid before the central holographic display. The display showed the intruder. It didn't look like any ship humanity had built. It was too smooth, too organic, like a silver teardrop sculpted from liquid metal. No visible engines. No exhaust. No docking lights. It just glided, ignoring momentum, ignoring physics. Have we identified it? Elias asked, breathless. Director Han didn't look away from the display. No transponder. No broadcast. No detectable weapon systems. She paused. And no signs of propulsion. Silence fell over the room. The ship slowed. It aligned perfectly with the station's docking ring, as if it had studied the schematics. Then, without clearance, it docked. A collective gasp moved through the crew. Elias felt a memory rise. Soldiers in bunkers, unknown enemies above, the sky burning. He pushed it down. Security teams to docking ring C, Director Han ordered. Non-lethal posture. We do not fire unless fired upon. Elias swallowed. He was not security. He was a systems engineer. But he followed anyway. Curiosity and fear pulled him like gravity. Docking ring C was a long corridor lined with bulkhead doors. Armed guards waited with pulse rifles aimed at the sealed airlock. A technician worked frantically at a console. We're reading atmosphere compatibility, the tech said. Oxygen-nitrogen mix. Slightly higher argon content. Pressure equalizing. Something inside Elias whispered, "This is wrong. We are not ready for this." With a hiss, the outer hatch unlocked. The inner door remained sealed, a heavy barrier of steel and composite plating. Director Han stepped forward. Unknown vessel, this is Halcyon 9. Identify yourselves. State your intentions. No reply. Then, the inner door slid open, and she stepped through. She looked human. Almost. She was tall, taller than any human woman Elias had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like moonlight on water, faint iridescent patterns moving beneath the surface, as if her blood glowed. Her eyes were enormous, black and reflective, catching every glint of light. Her hair flowed behind her, weightless, as if underwater, though the air was still. She wore no armor, no clothes, only a thin veil of energy that clung to her form like a second skin. The guards aimed their rifles. She didn't flinch. Director Han raised her hand. Lower weapons. Slowly. The guards obeyed, though uneasily. The alien woman looked around the corridor. Her gaze swept over each human face. When her eyes met Elias's, something locked in his chest, like the click of a vault door sealing shut. She spoke. Not aloud. The words formed directly inside their minds, clear and calm. I am Ambassador Sarai of the Luminous Accord. I greet the children of Earth. A murmur rippled through the gathered crew. Some clutched their heads. Others looked around, confused, terrified. Elias didn't move. He barely breathed. Telepathy. Real telepathy. Director Han steadied herself. Why have you come here? Sarai's gaze softened. We have watched your species for a long time. We waited for the moment you reached beyond your cradle. Today we step forward. Why us? Someone whispered. Sarai turned toward the voice. Because you are dangerous. The word hit like a slap. A guard tightened his grip on his rifle. Another muttered, Great. That's comforting. Sarai lifted a hand gently. You misunderstand. Dangerous not as a threat. Dangerous as a force of change. Director Han motioned toward the command hall. Ambassador Sarai, please. Let us talk somewhere more suitable. Sarai inclined her head. They walked. The command hall became an improvised diplomatic chamber. Sarai stood at its center, radiant and alien. Around her gathered engineers, miners, scientists, and security officers. Humanity's first representatives were nervous frontier workers on a dusty outpost. Elias stood near the back, arms crossed tightly to keep from trembling. Director Han asked, What is the Luminous Accord? Sarai's eyes brightened. A coalition of species bound by shared consciousness. We link minds across stars. We solve conflict before it begins. We preserve life. And you've come to invite us? Han asked. Yes. A stunned silence followed. Then Elias found his voice. Wait. You just join your mind network? Like surrender individuality. Sarai turned to him. You fear loss of self. Yes, Elias said, heart pounding. Because that's what it sounds like. Sarai stepped closer. She didn't walk. She flowed. We do not erase self. We expand it. Each mind joins the chorus. No loneliness. No misunderstanding. No war. At the word war, Elias's vision flickered with old memories, explosions, screaming, the metallic taste of fear. He steadied himself. You said we are dangerous. Why? Sarai's voice softened. Because you fight even when survival demands unity. You compete even when resources vanish. You kill even when reason says stop. No one denied it. Sarai continued. Yet you also love fiercely. Create endlessly. Sacrifice for strangers. Your contradictions burn bright. We wish to preserve that fire without letting it consume the galaxy. Director Han exhaled slowly. And if we refuse? For the first time, Sarai hesitated. Then the Accord will consider humanity a potential destabilizing species. That was a threat. Polite. Elegant. Terrifying. What happens then? A guard asked. Sarai's gaze dimmed slightly. Containment. Observation. Intervention, if necessary. The word intervention echoed through the hall like a countdown. Elias stepped forward before he realized he was moving. You say you want to preserve us, but you're asking us to give up what makes us human. To join your chorus. To be smoothed into harmony. Sarai watched him carefully. Harmony prevents suffering. And struggle creates growth, Elias said. We became who we are by overcoming ourselves. You take that away and we're not us anymore. A scientist muttered, He's right. Director Han looked torn. Sarai regarded Elias. You speak with the weight of experience. I've seen what humans do to each other, Elias said. I've fought in wars that shouldn't exist. I know we're dangerous, but danger is also potential. You don't fix a wildfire by removing the sun. You teach people to control fire. Sarai was silent. Then she did something unexpected. She opened her mind. Not a message, not a sentence, a flood. Elias staggered as alien sensation poured into him. Worlds of crystal forests under violet skies, oceans of glowing plankton swirling like galaxies, minds touching across light years, entire civilizations singing thought into shared consciousness. It was beautiful.
It was terrifying.
He felt the weight of trillions of voices, all connected, all aligned. And beneath it, stillness. No conflict. No chaos. No unpredictable sparks. A galaxy held in careful balance. Elias pulled back, gasping. Sarai studied him. Now you understand what we offer. He wiped sweat from his brow. I understand what you are. But do you understand what we are? Sarai tilted her head. Explain. Elias looked around at the humans in the hall.
Scared. Brave.
Defiant.
Flawed.
We're messy. We argue.
We fail.
We start wars and end them. We break things and rebuild them stronger. We fall in love with impossible odds. We reach into the dark not because it's safe, but because it's there. He met Sarai's gaze. If you merge us into your accord, you won't preserve us. You'll fossilize us. A long silence followed. Director Han stepped forward. Ambassador Sarai, humanity appreciates your concern. But no one station can make this decision. This is something Earth must decide. Sarai's eyes glowed faintly. Time is a luxury you do not have. Other species watch you.
Some fear you.
Some wish to control you before you grow. Then maybe, Elias said quietly, they should learn the same thing you're learning right now. And what is that? Sarai asked. That humans choose their own fate. Sarai looked around the hall again. At the guards who refused to lower their weapons completely. At the miners with dirt under their nails. At the engineers who built miracles from scrap. Then she smiled. It was small, but unmistakably genuine. I see why the galaxy whispers your name with unease. She raised her hand. A sphere of light blossomed in the air, showing countless stars connected by glowing threads. This is the accord. We do not conquer. We invite, but we will not force you. The sphere collapsed. Sarai stepped toward the docking ring. I will report to the accord that humanity declines for now. But know this. The galaxy is vast, and not all who watch you are gentle. Director Han nodded solemnly. We understand. Sarai paused at the doorway and looked back at Elias. You froze when I first spoke, she said. Elias swallowed. So did every human who ever stood at the edge of something greater. Sarai's eyes softened. Then perhaps your species is not dangerous, but necessary. She turned and vanished into her ship. Hours later, the alien vessel departed without a sound, sliding into the void and disappearing as if it had never existed. The station remained silent long after. Elias stood again at the observation window, watching the stars. Director Han joined him. Earth Command will lose their minds when they hear this report. Yeah, Elias said. But they'll believe it. We have logs, sensor data, neural records. Han studied him. You did well today. Elias shrugged. I just said what I felt. Han smiled faintly. That's often what changes history. They stood in silence. Somewhere out there, Sarai carried humanity's answer to the galaxy. No alliance. No surrender. No assimilation. Just a message. We will walk our own path. And the stars, ancient and watching, waited to see what humans would become. The alien ship slipped away without light, without sound, without trace. One moment it hung beside Halcyon, 9 like a tear of silver. The next it was simply gone, not accelerating, not jumping to hyperspace, but ceasing to occupy space at all. The docking ring doors sealed automatically. The station's hum returned. Air circulation. Reactor vibration. Human normalcy reasserting itself, fragile and stubborn. No one spoke for a long time. Some of the miners crossed themselves. One guard sat down on the floor, shaking. A scientist laughed softly, the kind of laugh that comes from standing on the edge of insanity and deciding not to fall in. Director Han cleared her throat. Everyone back to stations. Log everything. Every sensor reading. Every neural record. We will be writing the first contact report in human history. The crew dispersed slowly, like survivors of a storm. Only Elias remained at the viewport. Stars burned quietly beyond the glass. Unchanged. Indifferent. Yet suddenly alive with possibility and danger. He replayed the moment Sarai had opened her mind to him. The chorus of countless beings. The serenity. The order. The overwhelming absence of struggle. And then he remembered something deeper. Within that perfect harmony, he had not felt joy. Not the messy kind. Not the laughter after failure kind. Not the love that hurts kind. Not the pride of survival kind.
Peace, yes.
But no fire. Director Han joined him, hands behind her back. You understand what happened better than most, she said quietly. Elias didn't look away from the stars. We just told an ancient galactic power that we'd rather risk extinction than give up being ourselves. Han chuckled dryly. When you say it that way, it sounds insane. We are insane, Elias said. But we're kind of insane. They stood in silence again. Then Han asked, Do you think they'll come back? Elias thought of Sarai's final words. Not all who watch you are gentle. Yes, he said. One way or another. Months later, Earth. On a high council platform orbiting Earth, diplomats shouted, politicians argued, military strategists demanded action, and scientists begged for caution. The Halcyon, 9 logs played again and again. Sarai's image, reconstructed from sensor data, loomed above them like a ghost of the future. Humanity was no longer alone, and the galaxy had noticed. Orders went out. New shipyards funded. Research initiatives launched. Experimental drives tested. Old rivalries set aside, not from unity, but from shared fear and shared ambition. Humanity did what it always did when confronted with the impossible. It adapted. It accelerated. It refused to kneel. 1 year later, deep space. A small probe drifted beyond the heliopause. No human hands guided it. No pilot watched its course. But inside its memory core was a message, encoded in mathematics, in art, in music, in language, in emotion. A message meant for Sarai, for the Accord, for anyone listening. We are humanity. We are dangerous. We are unfinished. And we will meet you again among the stars. The probe ignited its experimental drive and vanished into the dark. Somewhere beyond human maps, Sarai stood before a council of radiant minds. The probe's message played within the shared consciousness. Images of human wars, human love, human defiance, human laughter, human tears. The Accord murmured in thought voices. They refused harmony. They chose chaos. They will grow unchecked. Sarai's voice rose calmly above the chorus. They chose themselves. And in doing so, they reminded us what we once were. Silence followed. Then curiosity. Then something new.
Respect.
Final line. In the vast dark between galaxies, Ancient civilizations watched the spark called humanity, small, reckless, brilliant, burning forward on its chosen path. Not guided, not protected, not controlled, but free. And the universe braced itself for what came next.